February 2017. Construction crews were prepping. Production was expected to begin within weeks. The release date, October 30th, 13th, February 2017. Production was expected to begin within weeks. The release date, October 13th, 2017. Jason Voorhees, finally back. Then, one phone call changed everything. Paramount Pictures canceled the entire movie. No announcement to fans, no explanation beyond the short press release, just gone. Now, today we're looking, I'm Gorehounds, guys. Today we're looking inside the Friday the 13th movie that almost happened, the script, the studio's constant changes, and why Jason disappeared for nearly 2 days. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions, there's only one canceled Friday the 13th reboot. There wasn't. There was at least 4 major versions between 2013 and 2017. Every time, Paramount just changed their mind and they canceled it. So, and me being a big Friday the 13th fan, that just pisses me off. I know we're getting Crystal Lake in October of this year, but still, everything seems to get delayed and Friday just is cursed. So, the writers started over. One version that was planned was a found footage movie, actually. An idea that came directly from the studio rather than the filmmakers. Now, this conception was eventually abandoned in the backlash changing creative priorities. Then came writer Nick Atonska. His assignment, bring Jason back and make it feel like the early 80s films in this franchise. All right, so Nick Atonska's script. So his screenplay was unlike the 2009 reboot, if you've seen it. So the beginning with Jason already killing campers and stuff, which was an amazing opening, by the way, but this was a slowly built the legend, this movie. It returned to Camp Crystal Lake. The setting was very isolated, old, forgotten, and much like the first act, it focused on characters rather than immediate carnage, and Jason wasn't really treated like a superhero. He was a myth. Now, someone whispered about not someone constantly on the screen. According to Atonska, he wanted the film to capture the atmosphere of the Paramount era sequels, which is the first movie all the way to Jason Takes Manhattan, if you didn't know. Now, while introducing new characters, the audiences would obviously care about, like the earlier Friday sequels. Not really, but kind of some of them. It depends, like Tommy Jarvis. But he later said the leaked screenplay was only the first draft and he would have continued evolving the script. Now, the script also featured a mass finale at Camp Crystal Lake, which many fans who later read the leaked draft consider it one of the highlights of the entire script. Now, Paramount changing directions again. But then the studio changed its mind again. According to Atonska, executives, they suddenly wanted more mythology surrounding Jason. And just like that, so reportedly questioned the period, setting. At the same time, leadership inside Paramount changed during this time. Now, the executives who originally approved the project, they were no longer in charge, so Atonska was kind of screwed. And the new executives, they wanted new ideas. They actually wanted a rewrite and another delay, another version of the movie. And Atonska later admitted that he believes that those corporate changes played a major role in the project's collapse. All right, so writer Aaron Gukowski came abroad. Now, his version reportedly leaned much harder into the origins of Jason, as we've been told. The mystery surrounding the lake became a much larger part of the story in this script. Now, producer Brad Fuller later confirmed the film was moving towards production, with director Breck Esner attached and preparations were underway. For the first time, this wasn't just another script. It looks like Paramount was actually going to make a Friday the 13th movie. And then, So on February 3rd, 2017, Paramount released Rings, which is a sequel to The Ring. Now, it underperformed critically, commercially, and if you want someone to blame for no Friday the 13th movie since the 2009 reboot, it's Ring's fault because days later they canceled Friday the 13th officially. Now, no one really means that and says it's 100% confirmed that Rings alone killed Jason in the movie, but the timing was impossible to ignore. And industry reports confirmed production stopped as shooting preparations were ramping up, which which is very sad to see. So, years later, Brad Fuller explained what happened. Yes, there was concerns of recent horror performances underperforming, and it's not because horror is not popular. If you can see today, horror has had a massive uprising, and it's because we want good horror, not shitty horror. But there was another problem, the rights. So there was a legal dispute over the Friday the 13th franchise that was approaching. Paramount worried about investing millions into restarting the series if long-term control of the property was not sustainable. And that's what Fuller said. That's how he put it. And if you're going to reboot a franchise, you want to make more than one movie, obviously, because cash, money. You know, who doesn't like money? And basically, the future wasn't guaranteed, you know, economically, creatively. The studio, Paramount just decided it wasn't worth the risk. They weren't going to know if they're going to keep the rights, and recent horror projects were not doing well. Now, today, fans can actually read versions of the leaked script. I've read it myself, and there's snapshots of movies that almost existed. Different killers, different openings, different endings, different visions of Jason. Some fans prefer Atonska's slower, old-school approach to the script and the movie. Others favor the later drafts, you know, the revised version demanded by the studio and the new executives. But everyone can agree on one thing. It is frustrating that none of them ever reached the screen, which is so disappointing. So we've been waiting for a Friday movie for 27 years now, if you didn't know. Now, our beloved Jason was not defeated by a final girl, was not destroyed by the FBI, was not even dragged to hell. He was stopped by rewrites, unfortunately, corporate shakeups, disappointing box office weekend by Rings, and the battle of the rights between Victor Miller and Sean S. Cunningham of the Friday the 13th franchise. Now, sometimes the scariest thing in Hollywood, it isn't the monster, it's the studio. If you enjoyed this deep dive into horrors, one of horror's biggest canceled projects, subscribe to Gore Hounds if you're new, and next time, we'll open another file in the Horror Vault. Peace.